Howdy folks, today is Monday, March 26, 2012. I'm Skip Ruddertail, your otter editor. With me, as always, is...
Toonces, the train-taking cat.
The train-taking cat.
The transport cat. The cat that moves around and does things, I guess. I don't know.
Wow, he's a quantum cat. He's everywhere and nowhere
Schrodinger's
at
cat.
once. Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to go. That's a little dark. And just a normal reminder, or normal from now on, the Bad Dog Book Club, while not all our stories are adult, it is an adult podcast.
Yeah, this is an 18-plus thing.
So, well, no.
And
make
today's
sure
18
you're
plus.
make sure you're of age in your jurisdiction.
Yeah,
because
that's
that varies from
Be
country
particular.
to country. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Whatever.
So wherever, you know,
No kids.
you know if you're allowed to listen to it. That's all we're
Yeah,
saying.
and please don't if you can't.
Right.
Creeps me out. For real.
Yeah. So we just
Sorry.
wanted to, we'll make a habit of saying this little disclaimer, without being so awkward in the future.
Well, Skip handles all the official pronouncements. Like, he's still counting the episodes. What episode is this, again?
This is 27B.
27B.
27B, yes. We are reading Poison by Faora. And this is one of these stories, one of the things I like to do is, people, when we've read their story, I like to go to them and say, hey, who's somebody you really like? What's a story you really like? And can we read it? And White Yodi said, oh man, I have somebody in mind. It's Faora. I want to read this story. And can I do it? And I was like, hey, makes my life easier.
He did a really good reading of it, too.
He did an epic reading of it. White Yodi. You will be getting calls in the future. Let's put it that way. That was excellent. And it sounds like maybe, I know you recorded this at B-Hop Studio, so excellent facilities, and it sounds like you may have had a little direction there, just a guess. So thanks to B-Hop, too, if that was the case.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, man.
Yeah, so thanks both of you guys. We appreciate it. And I did, finally, I got a promise, so dude, we are holding you to it. B-Hop did finally promise to send us some stories, because I've been trying for a while.
Yeah.
I first heard one of his when Alex did that writing workshop, back when he was still Alex.
Khaki dog.
Did that writing workshop online, and it was really good. So I was like, finally. He's like, okay, well, they're really short. And I said, okay, give us a 2 or 3 pack, since they're really short.
And we can maybe
And
discuss 2 or 3.
we can do 2 or 3, yeah.
That works.
I think so. We've done that before with different authors shows. I think we could do it with the same. So yeah, that goes to the rest of you. If you're like, well, all right, cool stories, but they're like 1,000 words, give us a couple of them. That's all right. We'll make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go Poison. Let's talk about it. We also have some responses in from the last couple weeks. We're getting some good feedback lately, so I'm excited about that.
We got some responses in the last one?
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention that I didn't realize until later was I had said this was our first, star fucking story, the last one, but I realized, no, we'd done Cinnamon's story, which is essentially a star fucking story, because the guy's a porn star.
That's
And
true.
I was going to say, I think that would be a much better example for how to handle that, because he fleshed out the character before they even revealed that he was some significant person.
Interesting.
And I mean, he's just some kind of a kind of studly, manly guy even before you realize that he's...
Well, that's interesting, the order of kind of how this person's introduced, or, what we know about this guy is ... oh, and he's a porn star.
Yeah, it's kind of
rather than
introduced.
He's a porn star, and then here's other things about him.
Yeah, and then in Ronnie's...
I think that's right.
And in Ronnie's story, it's, like I said, it was just, he's famous because he's famous, and he's awesome because he's famous. And it's like,
And I know you hate that saying about, don't tell show.
Yeah,
or whatever. But
show don't tell.
Maybe there's a... okay, I won't go there.
I know, it's not that it isn't bad advice, it's just really insipid advice.
Don't
you think?
As a writer, you could say, I don't know, sometimes I think it's useful.
I almost feel like if someone came up to me for baseball advice, and they were asking, okay, I want to start, I want to get really good at baseball, how do I get my mitt on my hand? It's like, I'm not going to give you advice on how to put your mitt on your hand. I mean, come on now, that's just hopeless. If you can't figure out something as simple as, you should, be expressive rather than just directly and flatly narrating things, Sorry. I don't think advice is going to help.
Maybe you feel it sounds like a football commentator reading a story where like, oh yeah, these guys came here to play some football.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. These guys are playing hard. They're going out there leaving 110% on the field, and they're showing, they're not telling.
Like,
they're showing, they're not telling.
What they've got to do is they've got to throw the ball and score some touchdowns to win this one.
See, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to put themselves in their characters' minds so that they can understand the dialogue their character would speak.
If they don't want the Patriots to score any points, they've got to stop them from scoring.
Yeah.
By the way,
I guess that's just some Fox, writing advice.
NBC,
sounds to me.
ESPN. If you're listening to this and you like it, we are happy to jump in there on Monday Night Football.
Or the Playboy Channel.
We'll do
it.
It.
What if the next step in pornography is just live narration? You know, like the YouTube comments at the bottom of amateur porn. Like, what is that? It's just like two guys wanting to comment on what's going on in the screen. Because it's much better than
if he wants to fuck this fox, he's got to get his cock in there.
It's like, oh, you know, he's been eating this lady's pussy for like 3 minutes. I'm ready for him to just stick it in.
Of course you are. Oh.
That's what's going to make pornography much more profitable again.
Mm-mm.
Is the commentary.
Oh yes. So, you know, speaking of sports, honestly, and, you know, I have to mention B-Hop because he wrote in with some good comments last week because, you know,
he told us to buy foam.
He did tell us to buy foam, and I will have to say, I mean, even if I could afford it, it's kind of an issue of space because we've got, you know, Bun and I, we have a nice place here. We've got 2 bedrooms. Obviously, we're using one of them. We have a guest bedroom. And I don't know, I think our guests might be a little worried if they came into it and the walls are covered and it's soundproofed. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that
make yourself comfortable, you know. If you hear this, like, hissing, like, gas noise, if you like, need sleeping gas, just ignore it.
If you need to yell for something, open the door first.
And like, why the floor is covered in plastic tarps? Like, nothing, you know, no reason.
And the contractors built it so the lock goes on the outside. We don't know why.
Right.
We've been trying to get
crazy.
it fixed.
It's crazy, yeah. So, B-Hop, we'd love to. So,
love to host you.
But, you know, in honor of that, we've got the microphone a little closer today, so hopefully that'll, you know, fix some of those issues there.
The issues, meaning his complaining?
Yeah.
He said nice things.
He even sent us a link to buy foam at.
Yeah.
So
I guess afford foam.
I guess what we need is an extra room first, and then so if you buy the extra room, I'll chip in for the foam. How's that? But no, B-Hop, he had a couple comments. One is just a general one, which I thought was really cool, and he just said, "I'm very pleased to see how you're willing to celebrate the unique qualities of the stories you read and critique fearlessly the parts of the stories you read that deserve it. Too often I feel like our fandom is so blind in promoting its own works, those in positions like yours play too much softball. To put it in the sports terms I understand best. You're aggressive about pointing out the problems that stories have, as well as pointing out the qualities that I often don't see when I first read them. Thank you for recording such a thoughtful and insightful discussion." So, I mean, that was awesome. That was really cool.
Thank
so we
you.
try, and I think, you know, I'm glad you have you, because I think, you know, it's kind of, it's one thing
you're
I've
the one
noticed.
that does the critique, really. I mean, I don't feel like I'm critiquing things.
I think we alternate. Like, I think we seem to take kind of each of us, depending on the story, I think we kind of, you know, we talk about it a bit ahead of time before we actually start the recording. We kind of, if people want to know the process, we don't get too much into detail because we want to keep the podcast kind of free form and spontaneous feeling. But we usually spend a few minutes kind of saying, you know, just in general,
just making sure we have topics, basically.
Right. Various things. Here are the things we want to hit. You know, here's what we liked, here's what we didn't, you know, in very general terms. Mm-hmm. And that seems to kind of lead on a typical basis to one of us being more of an advocate for the story and one of us being a little more critical. And it's not absolutes, but it seems like, I feel like, and that's usually each story.
It's just you want to have balance.
Yeah.
I always feel like it's good to have balance.
It is.
And I'm always wary of coming out and critiquing a story as if I'm going to fix it. I think you prod me on those things. You do a much better job of outright critique, I think, from a critic standpoint. But I
think you're very good too.
No, I really do. I commit to, I think, like the book club atmosphere, where if you didn't like something or you just wasn't to your taste, Doesn't mean you have to fix it. Doesn't mean you have to hate it. You just talk about what your response was, and sometimes it just didn't like the story.
So I think B-Hop, we try to do, we try to treat these things cool, and I really like the whole let's talk seriously about porn. I love it. I just get a kick out of it, so thank you. B-Hop also commented a little bit, too, about what we left last show on, which was my little observation from So Furry that, boy, it seems like most of the stories this week, or that week, whatever, 3 weeks ago, I guess, most of the straight stories are human furry mixes.
Yeah.
And most of the gay stories are furry mixes. And why is that? And we had a few kind of, thoughts about this. And B-Hop writes, I thought I'd weigh in on that, just to offer you one person's thoughts. I'm straight, but I have an interest in gay sexuality between anthro characters. I've read books and stories featuring it. I've downloaded art with it. I've even included some of it in my own work. But I can also say that though I'm comfortable with gay sex between anthros, in fantasies that deal with human on anthro, I absolutely prefer straight. I don't think this is a double standard. When anthros are involved, it's clearly fantasy, and things that I would find personally uncomfortable in reality become comfortable. Gay sex is just one of those things. In fantasy, there can be polygamy, harems, sexual slavery, other things that, for as much fun as I might find in fantasy, I'd find intolerable in reality.
Right.
That's the point of fantasy. And while this is probably not the case for everyone, because my fantasies involve anthros, being a furry after all, when humans are involved, it lacks that separation I've grown accustomed to. When humans enter the picture, I feel I need to pull the fantasy closer to my own physical desires, which means making it straight and monogamous, in accordance with the 13th Amendment. A little joke there.
Right.
But I think that's a good, I think that's a really interesting point, is that, one of the things that sci-fi and fantasy does in general, and this is something we've talked about on the show, is creates a distance. We've talked about it, its place in, especially historic classic sci-fi, which is how we're going to talk about real issues in a way that is approachable that people won't stop reading because, that's political, but they'll read it because it's about Martians.
Right.
Even though it's political. And so we've talked about this distance.
Yeah.
But this is not political. This is sexual. And we haven't talked about that aspect of it. Oh, absolutely. This is, more of a sexual angle and saying that, furries have a distance. And I think that's a good segue into the story. Maybe.
Oh, because it's something that you find uncomfortable personally because it's non-consent, and it's so
that's not
violent too.
Right, it is, and this is a really good example. I enjoyed this story. I thought it was hot. I was shifting uncomfortably in the car. Yeah, oh yeah.
See,
we were listening to this in the car, guys. So listeners, and I was had to drive along.
Really, you were? Oh, I was keeping my eyes forward on the road.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's good. You wouldn't have seen anything. I just had to shift a little. I was discreet.
Oh, jeez, I'm crap.
But
because when I'm in the car, I'm in a terror, and I'm watching every car around us and wondering how it's going to kill us.
Wow.
And Skip's just trying to shift his boner.
I'm a pretty good driver, I think.
Whatever car I'm in. Come on, I'm Toonces. What do I expect?
Toonces, look out!
Toonces, look out! Come on. I don't like cars.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, we're driving along, and there are a couple points where I kind of, wiggle around there, just to be a little more comfortable. That's all. That's all.
Notice. Oh my goodness!
Didn't even notice because he was sure he was going to die. But this is right. This is interesting. So I enjoyed the story, but okay, let's say if these are real. If this was real life, it's horrible, right? It's these people are horrible to each other. People are dying.
But even
people
just to make it real life, yeah.
People are getting raped. It's all. There's nothing good really about this.
No, there isn't.
Except people get off, I guess.
No,
so we can say that's good.
In this context, that's not very good.
It's not very good, right? So yeah, I absolutely get what you're saying. And so there are degrees of separating this, and this is so obviously the first degree is saying, well, this is about two furries who can't exist in real life. So there you go. There's the first degree of separation. I think one of the others is the setting, which we had a Ronnie's story last week. We talked about the fact that it's kind of this outrageously over the top, couldn't happen in real life setting.
Right.
And, that's how the story is. And this is the same way. I mean, we've got this, crazy bar. Now that you've seen Star Wars,
yeah, you have compare it to the bar scene with Han
I think
Solo,
everybody who's a Star Wars fan cannot help but read the opening part of this story and think of the cantina scene in the first Star Wars movie, where they come in, Luke, Obi-Wan, and they meet Han and Chewie, and
So
Han shoots Greedo, so people are getting shot. I think it's an homage. I don't like that whole homage rip-off distinction,
because it's both at the same time.
Everything is, yeah.
Oh well.
So I think it's definitely a homage. I think it has. I mean, it's so obvious to me that it's reminding.
And it does set the tone right out. Like, this is an extreme fantasy world where you can shoot someone in the face and people don't even blink an eye because it's crazy world.
Well, what do you think? About
to me, that actually kind of alienates me from it. I can't. If it seems like I'm not even inhabiting the same emotional plane as the people in this sci-fi fantasy world, I can't connect to it emotionally, and that degree of separation does me no good at all.
Well, we had another letter that said that they felt the story begins too early, and that they said it should have started when he got poisoned. And they said get rid of the whole opening thing. So it's interesting that so I want you to talk a little more about why this is just set the scene. Why is it important to have it there? Because another reader said it's not. It doesn't do anything.
I think you want to start a lot of stories in media res. And whenever I'm writing pulp, I always want to start that in media res too. But the difficulty there is that, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. I'm a fucking idiot. But the problem with that is you don't have the ability to start a world up out of nothing,
right,
and start characters up out of nothing and have it really click right away sometimes. And if you're trying to create, first of all, a distant fantasy world with a wholly different geography and political structure and moral base and all these things, whatever, it's kind of hard just to hop right into it and have people get their bearings. So I don't know. I can understand wanting to start at the best part, but especially when you're trying to set up something that's so distant from what we're from now, you need a little bit of a running room, I think.
Well, and I'm sort of, I suppose, in the middle on this one. I have to say, I could see that it isn't necessary, but I also don't feel it's terribly long or terribly distracting. And so it doesn't bother me.
It didn't feel like a long story in the first place.
Yeah, so, I could see the point, and I guess, strictly speaking, it wouldn't be necessary, but I don't think it hurts anything being there, either. So I don't see a problem leaving it there, I suppose. But this is interesting. In the non-consensual aspect, we had another person comment to me, that the non-consensual aspect really bothered them.
And, I mean, the things we talked about, things you can stand and have, different levels of things. Wouldn't this be, a pretty offensive? Because it's violent.
It is.
And, I mean, and I can kind of have, the non-consent fantasy to the degree of people think, okay, this guy is really kind of closeted, but he's really shy, but he actually kind of secretly wants it from the beginning, but is just too shy to really be open about it until you're really kind of... But that's a really milquetoast. This is a guy saying, I'm gonna fuck you for my life.
Yeah.
It's what on earth? I don't know.
See, that's what I think is so fun. I mean, that's the fun part of the story.
Because it's just so out of this, it's so crazy.
That's the over the top part. I mean, as you said in the car, you're listening to it, you're like, oh my god, is they gonna, or they're gonna, fuck he's gonna fuck to stay alive? And I was like, yes, because that's hilarious. And I think that's
hilarious.
I think that's my favorite thing about this story, because it is, I mean, it's a hilarious, I really feel like I would love to hear back from you, Faora, once you listen to this, if I'm right about your process, because I almost feel like somebody said, hey, but write a story where they have to fuck to survive. Just as a joke. I mean, isn't that great? I mean, it's a hilarious concept. If somebody said to you, Toonces, write a story where they have to fuck to survive. And this is it. And that's what
And
the
it's-
whole... I mean,
It does
that's-
make it give like a cat, like an apocalyptic setting. Like the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, so there's like a soccer team on an airplane and it's starting to crash into the Andes.
And they have to fuck to stay alive.
It's the only way we'll stay warm.
Right. I mean, that's what I love about this story, because I feel like that's the starting point. It would not be surprised at all, but I feel like that's the starting point the entire story is built around. And everything in the story exists to set up the scenario.
That you have to fuck to survive.
That they have to fuck to survive. And I love
a very
that.
Darwinian story.
I mean, I just love the idea of that.
Even though,
because it's so stupid.
Even though it ultimately means it comes out in this very, like, forceful non-consent scene. Like, it just doesn't bug you because it's so, like, it's got, like, a clown nose on, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it was, like, a realistic kind of thing. I mean, if this was set contemporary... And
it's clear when the response is
somebody...
even natural, because the Panther is so clearly enjoying it by the end, instead of having his body, like, wrecked and, like, physically torn apart.
Now, and that's why I could handle the NC. Now, if this was, set present day on, like, a college campus, and somebody got drunk and, like, grabbed and, raped, it would be a lot harder to read for me. But this is so goofy in conception. I'm not.
You see that a lot.
I'm not worried about the people. Let's put it that way.
I don't have any.
I'm not upset because I'm not worried about the Panther because it's such a goofy.
Because it's
situation.
a stupid Panther. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's just a character.
Like if I was worried about the Panther, then I might be upset. But it's such a goofy story that I can't be worried about the Panther.
Oh my goodness! So
who never gets named?
I guess he doesn't.
Yeah.
The Rhino, but the Rhino has some weird names. I'm just gonna call him the Rhino.
Yeah.
I
think that White Yodi's story, White Yodi's reading really worked with the tone of the story and probably emphasized it.
Oh yeah,
and
acted it out real well.
Because he acted it out. The voice work he did, especially for the Panther when he's getting nailed, was really great, and it was really funny too. And I think it suited the tone of the story. So yeah, that's why I think there may be some direction there, because that's what B-Hop does. And you might have, said, oh, let's redo this line a little this. So you guys all have to let us know what the process was there. I'm curious. And we had another comment, from Musky Rat Boy, which is great. I don't know what.
I'm
but
sorry,
he's like,
your name made me laugh, but your name made me laugh.
But it's like Muskie. Isn't that like a muskie, like a fish, like a muskellunge?
I don't know. But boy is B-O-I, which
B-O-I,
that's weird.
Musky Rat Boy. Boy. But he commented on the readings were great, and he couldn't stop giggling through the entire thing. So I don't think I'm alone in enjoying this kind of humor. And I feel like it was, if I feel like that's what Faora set out to do from the get-go. Like I said, this crazy concept, and the story is all built around this crazy scenario. And I think he did it really well.
I know that in retrospect, I realized that was my response to the story was more or less just humor, because it wasn't clicking for me sexually, clearly, but I was laughing along to it. So.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a derisive laugh, like, oh, this is clearly so bad, but I mean, it's a well-written story.
Yeah.
And the talent's clearly there, but
it's
just the scenario is so out there. You're right.
It's a definite wink at the audience, I feel. It's not... it's funny to be funny, and he's being hot at the same time, but he's still like, I'm writing a funny porn story with this goofy over-the-top scenario.
Yeah, just these over-the-top, like, gruff rhino character, like, oh, like, it reminds me of, like, every generic, like, a movie, like, a big budget, summer blockbuster movie, like a Rambo type nonsense like that.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's the first thing that started cluing me that this story's gonna be a bit of a joke, because we have this character who's so over the top, and he's in this setting which is straight out of Star Wars, this thing that we can connect to, and and the Panther comes up, and he's in a black cloak, and you can't see it, just his face and his teeth, and everything is so stereotyped, right? Everything is this perfect comic book, no subtlety character. I mean, they're broad caricatures, is what they are.
And in those settings, you see like some really horrible things represented anyhow, when you ever just really stop to think about it. Like, just flip through a comic book and like see 12 people mowed down in like a strip club or something like that. And just because, Spider-Man came in and saved the lady, you know?
Right.
It's like, whatever.
Spider-Man was a little slow today.
I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. I never responded very well to violence. That's all. I just,
Yeah.
Is that a European thing? Because say in Europe, the sexuality on TV is rampant, but any kind of expression of violence is like,
yeah. No, I mean, that's why I didn't find it a hugely hot story, I think.
You just had to discreetly...
I did have to discreetly, because it's pretty hot. But, I mean, I feel like we've read stories that have definitely done it more for me.
Like, hit it on the nose, like, just bullseye?
Yeah.
And
this wasn't that, but, it was pretty hot for what it was.
White said he loved this story.
Yeah, he did. Well, that's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
he picked it. So no, I enjoyed listening to it. I enjoyed reading it. And, when he said we want to run this one, I said go for it. No question. So I think it was kind of neat to see another take on this kind of absurdist world in this story. So I kind of like that too. We've got some good things coming along in the next few episodes, I think, too.
Do you have a story for the next
Alex
episode?
is recording one for us right now. That's going to be mouse porn.
That's right, mouse
porn. And that's by a...
And that's a straight story.
That is a straight story.
It's a good straight story.
Jesus.
And it's a pretty straightforward straight story.
That's a straight story.
We're trying to get the straight listeners.
That's by Pyro Stinger, so I think that's going to be our next episode.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's good. This is his first episode, I think. So that'll be nice, and he's somebody I wanted to have for a while. So I was very happy when he sent some stuff in. So thank you. So we got that, a straight story. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I like this one.
And
I wanted to say earlier, though, by the way, that like B-Hop's relationship to gay gay sexuality and furry is like more or less my relationship to the straight sexuality in all media. Because when he's saying like, well, I can look at like two gay furry characters and it's kind of like enticing if they get. I can watch a movie where like a guy and a girl get together and it's still kind of hot because but I guess just because I'm trained to see it that way. One
of these things. Maybe I'm bi. Maybe it's because I'm enough bi. But it's like when in a movie, like when the hero and heroine kiss or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, gross." Yeah. So I get that's a good point. That's something that hadn't occurred to me.
I mean, I think it's just not necessarily a sci-fi thing, but a media thing. If it's not happening to you IRL, and if you're watching it happen, you can conceptualize it to a degree because you're just trying to bridge the distance between the TV and yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then it's easier to connect with anything.
There's a writer that I was listening to on an episode of Escape Pod, and it skips my mind right now, but he's written a couple stories where his characters they're about gay couples, but he talks in the little bio they introduced him as he lives with his wife and kids and wherever it is, and it made me think about B-Hop's letter here, and obviously like the dynamics of gay couples obviously are something that's interesting him, or how their relationship work, or something that is interesting him to think about and write about. And I was thinking about that in the context of B-Hop's letter too, and in terms of this, which was about previous stories, but thinking about this story, saying for me, it's okay it's more okay sometimes for a guy to do things to another guy than for a guy to do things to a woman.
Why?
Well, and I was thinking about, right, well, exactly why is that? So if this story was non-consensual with a girl, I think it would have been harder for me.
You always change the dynamics for things like that.
If the panther was a woman, the non-consensual aspects, I think, would have. Well,
the fact is, if I'm reading a non-consensual story, I'm identifying with the guy who's getting the stuff done to him, and I can't do that near as easily if it's a lady.
Yeah,
for one thing, because I mean, I don't know how many people really identify with the dominant character in non-consent fantasies. It doesn't seem like any of the people I've ever talked to, and it seems like it's one of the actually more dominant fantasies among gay men I've found.
I think it's a very common fantasy among
very
all
common.
people.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess I can only speak from my experience with gay men.
But I'd say it's pretty common in general, and it's because it's.
But everybody has this real milquetoast understanding of it. Though it's the same thing where it's like it's not really like you're being pinned down and abused. It's like oh, I'm shy, but this person who is so much more aggressive and assertive and confident, they're kind of bridging that gap.
It's like
that's not what's going on here.
Us.
What
it's
do
like
you mean?
that song you played for us in the car.
Oh, that's about statutory rape, though.
No, the fuck me one.
The fuck me, oh, that one, yeah, not
which
not
is why don't you shut the fuck up and fuck me?
That's "Fuck Me" by Wendy Ho.
What the fuck are you waiting for?
YouTube that, everybody. Wendy Ho, "Fuck Me."
Wendy Ho.
Look for a drag queen performance
spelled
of it.
like it sounds. But no, I was thinking about that, and I think what it is even these sci-fi stories that we're reading about animal people in the distant future. Obviously, in art, we are products of our culture, and we are reading them in the context of our own experiences and our own cultural knowledge. And so I can read it and say, men and women don't have equal access to power in general in Western culture. Well, and so I can read that in the story. But that's something, I'm just saying, it's something that it's hard for me, to separate that, even in the back of my mind. I imagine some women would have
non-consent fantasies for the same reasons I have non-consent fantasies.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying for me reading this story, if it was a woman in this space, it would be harder for me to read because I would be aware of the fact that, there's this imbalance of access to power.
That's not so... I mean, there's still plenty of sexual abuse amongst gay men, too.
Absolutely.
It's not like it's any less of a serious issue.
I'm not saying it's not. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not refuting this. I'm just saying, in general, how that would affect me.
I see.
Yeah. That's all. I'm not refuting, and I'm not trying to say, only women are abused, or all women are abused. God help me, no. Because I don't want to get into that second way of feminism, like, porn is all objectifying women. Because that's total bullcrap, and I don't believe that. Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. No, I don't believe that at all. I mean, I think there can be feminist porn, and I think there can be, positive porn.
Yeah, but I don't like porn. I don't like real porn.
And yet here
No, what I'm saying is, no. I see, the thing I like about the furry porn is that it's not like
real
people that are being paid to mess around on screen. It's just artistic output.
It's something honestly I like about furry porn and written porn, even if it's the non-furry terms, because I don't have to worry about the people in it. Because
as much as a non-consent story might maybe irk you, how much does the concept of gay for pay or irk you?
Yeah.
The idea is that there are producers out there going there and throwing money at supposedly straight dudes to try to suck dick on camera. Yeah. That does make me a bit more uncomfortable. And if I see that on the shelf at a porno shop, I'm like, I think I'm gonna go home and check out FA.
And you don't have to worry about that if you're looking at furry porn. And I think that's a good thing to be said for furry porn, honestly.
Not just furry porn, but just all amateur produced porn. Because even I kind of like the webcam website sometimes where the people post videos of themselves, and you really can't see their.
I can't watch professional porn usually because
you can see right through the actors. Is the thing. I feel like I can just look right through.
The guys are all and the women are all incredibly loud, and you have to put it on mute because they are so crazy loud.
And it certainly doesn't seem the least bit natural.
I'm shut up, and it's I have neighbors above and below us. They're gonna think bad things about me.
I just wonder if someday, the porn we have now is gonna seem to the future, when we look at old stereogram porn, where it's you flip a flip book and this lady lifts up her skirt and dances with her knees, ankles exposed, and then you'll be looking at us going oh wow, so they had to have them really act out. Yeah. Really act moaning. Was the stereo equipment not very good? They wouldn't be able to hear it very well. I'm not ever that loud in bed.
Or they're where are the internal shots? I don't get it. How come there are no internal shots? So you can do that in furry porn.
I imagine future porn being hyper realistic, where it's just amateurs uploading.
Yeah.
They're, years looks weird. And it's not people acting all crazy. It's just people fucking.
Yeah.
You just look into people's fucking.
There you go.
That's what I imagine future porn is.
Just open the window blinds. Oh, there are people fucking.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Just watching the video of people fucking.
Yeah. So, and then we've got All Floor's going to be coming back for a third time because he has a new book coming out.
Radical.
And so we're going to read an excerpt from his new book. So that'll be interesting, read an excerpt from a book. And that's something, we haven't done a lot of. So that'll be, and that's always a little bit of a different kind of read, I think, than reading a whole contained story. So that'll be interesting. And then we got a few other things in the pipeline. So I think we're good for the next 3 episodes at least.
Yep,
which is good. But we are always looking for more submissions. Send us your stuff.
I like this because it means I don't have to do any work. I never have to anyway, but it means I don't have to do any work. Skip does all the work. I mean, I've said it 100 times before, but Skip does all the work. I just show up and talk.
Yeah, I arrange all the recordings, and I talk with all the people,
and he edits all the shows,
podcasts,
and he even handles transportation.
And I drive Toonces here, and I drive
and he feeds me
home, and I cook dinner.
And then
what
I just
do
talk.
you do?
I talk. I talk for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
But you're good. It's a good dynamic. You apparently exploit the hell out of me, and I put up with it. So it's a good dynamic. For
I wouldn't do it if you didn't
show.
tacitly allow it. Basically,
apparently, this is a consensual relationship, and
I'm jockeying you, but you like
the
it.
less said about that, the better. Yeah. So. Well, folks, do you have anything else?
No, thank you so much for all the work.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for exploiting me. See, this is how otters get the reputation of being modest, because I'm not. I'm so not. Now everybody's like, you can walk all over Skip.
Because he does all. No, to me it sounds as if you're the only person responsible in this in this production.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're the only person capable of actually handling issues. I mean, it sounds more dominant to me.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's my reading of it.
Okay. I'll go along with that. All right, so I think that wraps us up for this episode. It was just a short little story. I think a fun little story. I think it was well written. There were several lines in it that made me laugh too. So I think it was just a clever written little story, not deep, but wasn't trying to be. And I think it, I really feel it was built around this, how to make this single concept happen. And that's what it set out to do, and that's exactly what it did. And I think it's good to, to view these things in terms of what they set out to do. Yeah.
Fuck to survive.
And this had the goal, and I think it hit it admirably. So thank you, Faora. Now we're going to ask you if you have a story you'd like to nominate. So do be thinking about that. And the rest of you guys, we'll see you next week with a new one.
Arrivederci.
Straight het sex.
Mouse
porn.
Oh, yeah.
Word.
Straight porn. I'm going to enjoy this one.
All right. Yes, we will make Toonces.
Oh, I will not be able to psych myself
porn. Aw.
Who's reading it?
Alex.
Alex is reading it.
Khaki dog.
Khaki Alex
is reading
dog
the straight porn. Yeah, we're making poor Alex, who's not straight either, read the straight.
Do we have any straight person involved in this production at all?
Well, not directly.
We seem like a pretty uniform group, really, between you, me, and Khaki. Except he's
I'm like
European.
the most straight, and that's saying a lot.
But I'm just saying, just in terms of all demographics, like even age-wise, we're pretty similar. Are we all what about religion?
I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably agnostic.
Socioeconomic status?
Well, we're getting in the middle class now.
That's true. I'm still poor.
Alex is middle class.
Okay, so I represent the poor voice on the podcast.
There you go.
And Alex, I guess Alex represents the 1%.
Alex is the European. He's very
the old money.
He's very
the old world old money.
Yes, he's very efficient, stylish.
I mean, he bought us the microphone.
Yes, so that's why he's the producer. What
was the title he liked?
I think producer's good.
It wasn't producer. It was some silly thing.
Oh, I don't know.
Whatever.
He's our Khaki F Dog, so we could say like.
He's the
Bad
magic
Dog
maker.
Book Club is a production of Bad Dog Books. Skip Ruddertail, Toonces the Driving Cat, and Khaki F Dog, executive producer. Yes,
so all lawsuits go to Europe.
Yes, maybe, and they will be paid out in Greek drachma. So collect on that while you can. All right, folks. Good night.